Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Characters Magazine podcast. I'm DJ Carlos Meta here, and we have a very interesting podcast today because we have a group of panel and group of talented actors. We have Jacob Godson. Welcome to the podcast. Giuseppe and Shodo, and the members of the Character Podcast. Welcome to this episode.
Thank you for having me.
Hi.
Thank you for having me on.
We are so happy and excited to have this interview today because, again, it's going to be our first podcast interview episode in English. And we prepared some questions, and these people here are ready with questions. But we would like to get to know you a little bit, and we want to have some kind of brief introduction about each of you, Giuseppe, Shodo, and Jacob.
Let me start. I'm a director, writer, producer, and sometimes actor. From New York City. I started making films 2018, and that's about it. Quick introduction. Shodo, Giuseppe.
My name's Shodo Allen. I moved to New York City, started acting 10 years ago. I actually initially started off modeling, and then soon I got into acting. I've done a lot of shorts, commercials, a couple features. My improv skills, I've been performing in a show, improv show in New York City called Batsu for the last 8 years. So I host that. We do 7 shows a week. And hey, man, just living the dream.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I'm Giuseppe Palacio. Born and raised in New York. Acting kind of hit me at a young age, like a lot of people, and started in like community theaters and stuff like that, and then ended up going into like shorts and something like Shodo. Had a few features on my belt now, and I've been working with Jacob. I think this is the 4th film that I just finished with him, 4th of many more, I'm sure. But acting is just kind of consumed me my whole life. I've done some writing and stuff like that as well, but acting is really what it is. Improv and stuff like that is fun. It just brings a whole other side out of me. But yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations. You've been having a very interesting career, and want to get to know. The idea of this podcast is like we share our tips and tricks since you have a lot of experience, and we're kind of starting new in this entertainment thing. So we will, and also the people that listen to us, like they want to know any tip of advice that you guys can give. So one of the first questions I think is for Harry Pino. Harry, you have a question for the panel?
Yes. Well, thank you for inviting me once again, Carlo. Yes, I think this question is directly to Giuseppe because he's the actor here, and maybe Shodan could also answer this question. I'm more interested in knowing when it's the right time to start looking at agents, because I've been told in the past to wait until you get a couple of credits, but most of my work has been a lot of short films, and we just finished a feature films up in Boston under Ben Affleck, and I'm just interested because one, I don't want to keep just getting behind the 8 ball here. You guys are young, and I'm just going to go with the flow here. But that's the main question. When is the right time to get an agent? And not so much how to get the agent. It's just when to get the agent. And my second question directed is to Jacob. And how could we start looking at bigger projects? Backstage, he mentioned a few minutes ago. I am on Backstage, and I'm using Actors Access and so on. I do train under Kirk Hugh, who has over 80 credits from Texas. So I just want to know what's your intake on this. Thank you.
I guess I'll start with the first question. I mean, for me, in my personal experience, I mean, everybody's a little bit different, right? Like some people, when they go to school and like right out of school, a showcase, they'll get an agent immediately after with absolutely, nothing under the belt except like maybe some theater they did or some stuff like while they were in school. And then other people, it's just through happening to meet somebody and them believing in them and or just like liking them. For me, the right time really depends on the actor, I feel, because like if you're going to be working with somebody in the agency or a manager or whoever it is, you really got to be ready to dedicate everything to acting. Like you have to be like that has to be your main priority. You have to be willing to wake up at whatever time and give up whatever personal plans to, you might be filming self-tapes the entire day in a day that you have like, you got a notification from your agent like, hey, we need this like in the next 3 hours. And, if you don't have that time or that availability or dedication to give to it, I don't think you're ready to necessarily work with an agent or manager. I also think the most ideal time for everybody, everybody that comes into any sort of art form does it with most likely with passion for it. So I don't think that's the big thing. I think it's just like the individual knowing for themselves if they're really, really ready to be like, this is going to be everything I do. And then the whole about like how to get it. Like I think it's just through working with people, and it's like yes, talent comes with it, but what I find with like agents and managers is like the people want to also like you as a person, not only just like your ability. So I think for my personal experience, I think it's like you got to be ready, and you also have to be ready to, because everything you do once you sign with that agent or manager or whoever you decide to work with, all your actions, every reputation you leave on with every casting director and every set sticks, and you just got to be making sure that you are fully ready emotionally and professionally to take that on.
Awesome. So I also have go ahead, Harry.
No, about Mr. Allen's experience.
Oh yes, you have a second question, right? Yeah.
Well, I'd say with my personal experience, I got a non-exclusive agent offer it like immediately. But like what Giuseppe said, it's like you have to, in all these projects that you do, make yourself present, make friends, be likable. People will remember you and they go on. Remember, everybody's all trying to get the same thing you're getting. So where they'll doing different projects, maybe you would stick in their mind when they're like, hey, we need this guy that looks like this or whatnot, So, I mean, that I just had that experience recently. I filmed for a trilogy for Trauma Entertainment, and I got that solely based on working with other people. And the guy that gave my name, the other actor that gave my name to the director, I haven't worked with him in 7 years.
Wow.
But he remembered me, because when you're on set, you gotta remember we're having fun, right? We're having fun. This is what we love to do. So you make chemistry with people. You create relationships, like going through a tough thing or an experience, and you guys kind of bond together as kind of a unit, So making those type of experiences and making them like, an experience that people don't forget. Just remember that every time you're on set, man, you're just always having fun. This is the best time. If it's not the best time, you're probably not in the right business, But yeah, that's all I can say for that, Get an agent now. Try to get a non-exclusive agent. They usually take 20%, but they're getting your face out there. And the more projects that you work on, the more people that you will meet. And that's that's the important thing about this industry is meeting people and being likable.
Yes.
So
Awesome. Yeah.
Mr.
What was
Jacobs.
your second question?
Second was from a director's standpoint.
Oh, yes.
What Jacob looks for, even though he already mentioned it, but I would like to emphasize on a few things.
I mean, in general, or when I'm looking for a specific role? to be
Yeah,
filled.
no, like when you do your casting, if you have a role, a specific role, and I know you mentioned that you have a specific role, a specific image of your actor from the way they speak to the way they act and so on.
Yeah, I'm a little different from other directors. I don't like to see their reels or their past work because it might not represent them correctly. They could have a bad director, or they took a part that wasn't right for them, or there's just so many factors. I just like to see their headshots, and if they look the part for my character, I'll give them a read, and then we'll work from there. And their first read, I don't really tell them how to read the part. I want them to read it how they feel they should read it, and I would work with them based on that and try to mold it, try to infuse the character with who they are, and that will help them come out like make the acting experience more realistic. They won't be like they'll be their role will be much easier. Will be much easier to do, and that's my process. Really, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. I have a question that is in my mind. I think it's for Shodo, which is like you mentioned that you've been done some physicality in your act and in your acting, and I know Giuseppe also played the role of the Batman in one of the comic short films. So how difficult it is to prepare for an action scene instead of a dialogue scene? Like those are two different approaches. I know it requires a lot of time, a lot of practicing. So what tips can you give us, or what your experience? What can you tell us about that?
The difference between an action scene or just straight dialogue.
Yes, not like
How do I
when you're doing
prepare?
stunts or like fighting scenes, and then
Yeah, it's just to me, it's kind of all the same thing. It's just different process, For action scene, we obviously have to reenact it out, practice it to where it looks good, find the spots to where it's not gonna look corny when we hit. It will actually look like we're hitting, but at a distance safely. But yeah, it's I enjoy when I get to do a film we can have both of that. Some deep drama dialogue alongside with some action, and if there's a great writer, a little comedy too. But
Okay.
you gotta
Because
have a great
sometimes you
writer
get
for that.
these fighting scenes for no reason. Like, wait, why are they fighting? Like, you don't really know what's the purpose behind. So everything has to be, in a logical reason that it leads to the confrontation.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ana is right there. Ana Sanchez, welcome. Do you have a question for the panel?
Yes, I have a question, mostly for the actors. Like, what is the tip that you can give to memorize your lines? Because I know sometimes the director says, "Okay, here are your lines," and you have to do it the way it is. Like, how you guys memorize those?
You want to start, Giuseppe?
Sure, yeah. I think for me, a lot of it is just like everybody has different memorization techniques for sure. Reading it with somebody is to me essential to make it more natural, because like you don't want to just have lines down and then it just sounds like you're just saying things that you remember. You want to get into it. Like that said, when the actual like filming day or performance day, whatever it is, happens, there's always going to be like little modifications. The best way is to memorize it alongside whatever co-star or whatever have that scene with. This way, when it comes to that day, it's almost like you're not even saying the lines. It's just almost like it's just like a natural thing that you're doing in the moment, like it's real conversation. Definitely for as well, like a lot of rest the day before is probably good, so you're at your brain's functioning properly. But yeah, no, it's just for me, it's more of just like getting it down with a person. So it just feels like it's like when it comes down to that actual filming day, that it just feels like, oh, this is just what's happening. And if it's not with that person, alongside somebody else, because, or to like record yourself doing it, because it's not even just saying like, okay, I'm gonna say this sentence. It's gonna be more of like, I'm gonna be, you know, saying this to somebody. There's gonna be reactions, there's gonna be all these like subtle things, so it's gonna change the pace of how you say it, and maybe the fluctuation of your voice and certain things. So for me, it's just more of just like making it as natural as possible, doing it in a natural setting with somebody.
Yeah.
So your main question is like memorizing. What was the strategy to memorize?
Yeah, the tips that you usually use to memorize the lines.
Okay, well, my tip, because I'm notoriously known for memorizing my lines the last minute. But if you really want to just get it down, I read it over and over and over and over, and then you read it over like 10 times, and then like try to say it, and you'll probably miss a couple times. Look at those lines. Try to read it over. But like usually, if you have like I don't know, like a 6 page script, and you know your lines are maybe 2 pages, I can get that down in like 30 minutes. And then, you know, when it comes time to shoot it, you just kind of, I try to put, in each character, I try to make it like a little piece of me, you know, so that's more free flowing. You know, I can move with this character because it's a piece of me. It's not, I'm not like a robot spouting off these lines. So I always remember that. When I first got into this, I would always think like I'd read the script, and I didn't take no classes. I wasn't a theater kid. I kind of just fell into this when I was 32. You know, so I had to learn all this kind of by myself and how to do these things. But in the beginning, when I read a script, I'd always think like, oh, I gotta read this character or be this character that they want. You know, I got this cookie cutter of what they want, and that was kind of wrong because then my character wouldn't be natural. So once I put that myself into each character, obviously it's going to be always different. But it's a little piece of like different things that we've gone through our lives, you know, and that's what makes it more. And the biggest thing is like calm your nerves. Just try it, whatever you got to do, meditate, anything, let your nerves, try to calm them down. So when you're on set, you're just free flowing and natural, because that's what they want.
Also, and I believe Jacob was his first time acting, so you had to memorize some lines for the Beauty and Beast of New York, right?
Yeah, I had a little trouble with it, but yeah, as far as memorization, you don't need to memorize word for word, just the concept of what this scene is trying to achieve. For example, if I tell you, meet me somewhere at this place, and I tell you you have to take a car, and then you have to switch to the bus, train, that's not necessary. As long as you make it there, that's the point. The scene is still achieved. Yeah, so you don't have to. Yeah,
that's a director's preference.
Yeah.
Because there could be different directors. I've worked with different directors where they wanted me to say word for word. If I missed like an it or a the, they would be, hey, can we do this over again?
Oh my
So that's
God.
definitely a director's preference.
And that makes the actor come across like he's a bad actor because he's trying to word for word, verbatim, say what the director's written, and sometimes it doesn't work. As long as the message gets across, there are going to be some scenes where you have to say it word for word because the director wants it that way for a reason, to set something up. But if you're just trying to achieve a feeling or a scene, you don't need word for word. That will actually hurt the actor more. So I'm kind of flexible with that. When I see it come out natural, that's my number one goal. I don't care if they missed a couple of words or changed a couple of words. So I want my actors to be presented as good actors because I've seen other films and they don't do so well and other films, and I can see why now. So I've always tried to be different in that aspect. So I don't really care if they don't get it word for word. So, yeah.
It's very interesting because the little experience I have in the field so far, I do have an accent in English and I have an accent in Spanish. So my last character in my last project, it was supposed to be all in Spanish. So the director, halfway when we started filming my scene, he noticed that my accent in English was funnier and he adapted it right there. So I got totally lost because everything was in Spanish, and then I had to take everything and put it in English within 15 minutes, and it turned out to be the best decision that he made because I was a lot more comfortable on set. I got into the character a lot quicker, and especially the psyche of the character. So it's very interesting to hear you guys see it both in different ways, but accomplishing the same goal.
Yeah, no, that's a good example. It worked, but if there was something specific, like the director said, your character can't speak English, like you never learned English, that's the only thing that would stop that from letting you speak English. But other than that, yeah, I'm glad he let you do that, and it felt natural. It's good. Yeah.
Awesome. So we have Dolores Tobon. Dolores, I think you have a question for the panel too.
You're muted, Dolores.
Yes, Dolores, you got to unmute.
Second.
There you
Okay. All right. Hello, my name is Dolores. I'm from Mexico.
Okay.
And my question is, what do I need for go in your projects? Like, really, I need to do my resume, my pictures, or folio. What is your rules in your projects?
You talking to me? Yeah. A lot of directors look for different things. I mainly focus on headshots and basically headshots. And I'm more interested in the sound of your voice than how you acted. Like voice recordings are good too because accents matter. Like for instance, Manuela, the girl I casted for the lead role, the female role, I wanted a English speaking, but with a Spanish accent. So the other directors, they are so interested in reels and other clips of movies. I'm not really interested in that. So it depends on who's casted. My priority is headshots. That's me.
That's interesting
Okay.
that you mentioned because right now there's a whole controversy with the accent thing at the Oscars with Emilia Perez and all of that. And right now there's a series in Netflix that is from Colombia that is also having some controversy with the accents and all of that. What is your opinion on that? Like, for example, in Emilia Perez, you had an American actress trying to speak Spanish and their Spanish was not very good. What is your thought on that? Like, I don't know. What can you tell us a little bit about that?
I don't know. I stopped watching the Oscars a long time ago because it just didn't make sense to me anymore. But I don't know. I don't know what the controversy is. If the character is made like that, then that's why. Because Manuela, her character is someone that just came recently to the United States, and
It makes total sense. Like,
she needs to sound. What was the controversy? If you don't mind telling me, like really fast.
Yeah, so you have actresses speaking Spanish and their language, their Spanish performance was not very well. So people that speak Spanish say, well, she's not speaking Spanish very well. So, for some reason, like there's a... But then in this story in particular, you can understand that her English accent is not the best, but there's a reason, which is maybe playing the role of an immigrant. So it makes totally sense that it's not a perfect English, pronunciation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, could I add something to that? At the same time, you could speak Spanish, and it's all about what's the message in the movie. It could be a region, let's say a region in Colombia. Let's say the
coast,
southwest,
the North Coast,
and then you have the north.
Coast.
They speak totally different. So I think the people that are criticizing right now they're just getting nitty and picky. They have to understand where the lady came from, the story behind her. When she said at the beginning, I came from this section of Colombia. My parents were from whatever. I don't remember the line, but I know she mentioned the area.
Yes.
So therefore, you have to go into that region and see how they speak. It's the same thing in the Puerto Rican Spanish. It's a mixture. We speak Spanish, English, Anglo, you name it. We throw different regions, and even the local Puerto Ricans could tell what part of the island you're from. And the island's only 100 miles long. You know what I mean? So I get the point, but it's driving a lot of people
so
crazy.
for example, Giuseppe, he said he's from New York. He was born in New York. So imagine an actor that is not from New York pretending to imitate the New York accent. That's mostly the controversy. What is your thought on that, Giuseppe?
I mean, I think in the end of the day, it's the responsibility of the production and the actor playing the role to be able to deliver the most realistic thing, right? So if I was cast for a role where I had to speak Arabic, which I don't speak, I'm going to put as much effort and engulf myself in the language and try to make it sound as natural as possible. Like, that's my responsibility as an actor, right? Like, that's the whole point of performing arts. Like, I do think that, like, opportunity should be given to everybody, right? If you have someone who is a natural, Spanish-speaking person that's perfect for the role versus somebody who might be more famous that, might be equally as talented, but because their name is a little bit more and they're getting the role for that reason, that's one thing. But if there's somebody who can deliver an amazing performance, might not necessarily be as famous as the other person, natural Spanish-speaking person and whatever, like that, to me, I think those people should be getting those roles. That said, I like a weird example, but I did this short film a long time ago with this girl who is playing a girl from the South, and every single person criticized her accent, saying that it was so inauthentic, but that was her actual accent from where she was from in the South. So, but everybody thought it was like a fake, poorly done, dramatic accent, but it was her voice. It was her exact accent. So there are always going to be people looking for flaws, right? Like if someone has an issue with something, they're going to, like if you're looking for something wrong, you're going to find something wrong. If you're looking for something right, you're going to find something right. But again, I think in the end of the day, whatever the director, the production, the team, the actor, whatever individuals are involved in making that performance, it's those people's responsibility to do it. Like and talking about the New York accent, like I put a lot of effort into taking certain vernacular out of my language in certain ways that you can accentuate words that isn't as widely used in New York, but it's like still kind of like trickled in there because it will affect what I get cast for. But if I am going to be getting an audition for someone who's a natural New Yorker, I can pull that accent out because it is a part of me. So if it wasn't a part of me, I would probably put a lot of time and effort in trying to make it as natural as possible and involve myself with people who have that naturally. And I think that's something that was missed. I think I know what you're referring to with some of the people, but I think that was something that was missed because even for me, like I speak somewhat Spanish, but it's more of like what I learned growing up in New York because there's a lot of Spanish-speaking people in New York. But even for me, being surrounded by a lot of people who moved here from the thousands of different places that it was moved from, you can hear that it wasn't a natural accent, even for someone who's not a native Spanish-speaking person.
I think I understand the controversy now. Like, rather than like choose an Italian person to play a Spanish person, they want, no, that's stupid. So Al Pacino, they would have had Al Pacino problem with Scarface, right? They would have had a problem with him playing Scarface then, right? Cuban, right?
Yeah. Yes.
No, it's dumb. I think anybody can cast whoever they want. The more restrictions they put on filmmakers, the less.
Creative.
Yeah, it won't be. It's not their art anymore. Like you wouldn't hold a painter's hand and tell him how to stroke the paintbrush. No, no. It's stupid. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. You know. But yeah, I think a filmmaker should make the film he wants to make and cast who he wants. Can't force him to cast.
Yeah, we have 2 minutes left, and I want to hear Shodo on this opinion about this.
Yeah. The speaking of Spanish with a different.
Yeah, the whole different accent and the film going on.
I think the role should be casted to the best actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Regardless of who it is. But I think a lot of times in Hollywood, the best actor don't get casted. It's all politics.
Yeah, for many reasons.
Yeah. And you know, but we know this before getting into this business, that it can be manipulated in a way where they want. But I love what I do. You know, that doesn't deter me from trying to get my dream and be one of the best prolific actors of our time, you know.
Awesome. Well, we're done to the end of this podcast. We have less than a minute, and I want to thank every one of you for participating, for giving your opinion, for giving us those tips. And that's it. Thank you for being in this podcast, and we're going to be everywhere the podcasts are, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Characters Magazine podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.